This video is sponsored by NordVPN. Did you know that when you go out and you buy a new hot, high-end new luxury smartphone, often it comes nerfed out of the box? Yeah, weird. Spend 4 figures on a phone and suddenly, unless you know where to go in the settings and what to reselect, you'll be shortchanged and not even reaping the benefits of your brand new, perhaps even flagship device. These are things you can actually fix, so let's talk about that. Hey guys, I'm Ryan Thomas, and you could probably argue that phones these days are actually especially nerfed because they don't even ship with a charger in the box or a set of earbuds, no dongles. Is the ultimate nerfing the fact we cannot charge our phones with what's included in the packaging? No, only joking, but I and many others are definitely not a fan of that recent change. Note there are settings and features on your device that come usually at a lower set quality, despite the hardware and software being perfectly capable and present for a better experience. And this has been going on for a good few years now, and I always make sure to enable these things on a device before I properly start reviewing the thing. But let's jump into that first one after a quick word from today's sponsor. One of the most convenient and handy inventions of the last few years is certainly a VPN, and that's where this video's sponsor NordVPN comes in. Not only does this service help you browse anonymously, tunneling your network traffic through another region which helps secure your connection, but it's also just really handy for watching programs, movies and sports that you just wouldn't get in your home version of Netflix, for example. Or if, like me, you're a die-hard Premier League fanatic and you go on holiday, being able to log into your streaming services just as you normally would without a fuss is brilliant, and NordVPN allows you to do that. It works on Mac, Windows, iOS and our beloved Android. It's easy to install and get set up. If you go to nordvpn.com/androidpolice, you'll get up to 77% off a 2-year plan and 4 months extra for free. So check that link out in the video description, and a big thanks to NordVPN for sponsoring today's content. So the first and most obvious one for me is the screen refresh rate. Now 120Hz, 144Hz, LTPO tech is all the rage at the moment, but the problem is, and this has been a particularly annoying thing for the Google Pixel models, even the $1,200 Pixel Pro XL, is that they ship in 60Hz, and you actually have to delve into the screen settings, scroll all the way down to smooth display and enable it. And I can see why this would be switched off on maybe a mid-range phone or an entry-level model, but on a 4-figure Pro XL, you know, the device is designed to compete with the Galaxy Ultra and the Pro Max. It's bizarre. And even as someone who actually doesn't mind using a 60Hz phone screen when in the right context, enabling this setting instantly livens up Pixel phones. And it's not even just a Pixel thing, by the way, so make sure you go into your new phone settings and just double check that it's enabled on your Model 2. And whilst you're actually in the screen menus, there's more to do here. So you'll often find that even phones that ship with like a Quad HD plus screen resolution, even in the hardware, even everything that's capable of, it might be set to Full HD or even normal old school HD in the software. This will for sure make your screen look softer, and the best bet to get the most out of the big expensive phone you just paid for is to really go in and max it out. Now these two screen features are going to tax your battery more than default, which would explain why they are set to such low levels out of the box. But I also feel like if I'm spending that much on a mobile phone and I'm spending that much for those features, why would I not want to use all of those features? Is that just me? Let me know in the comments if you're feeling the same way. One bizarre one that is going to be a game changer for the right person that sees this is if you own a Samsung Galaxy and, like me, you don't wish to use automatic brightness because it never really gives you the right level of luminance on your screen, then you'll be using the normal manual brightness slider, and that's absolutely fine. But what you might also find that in manual brightness, the screen does not get as bright as it should. What you'll want to do is go into the screen settings and enable extra brightness. When I found out about this feature, it was a game changer, and it just means that when you're going out in direct sunlight and other bright environments, you're getting so much more out of your screen, especially if you're using manual brightness. And if you've noticed this on other makes and models, do share with the group in the comments because it is a big change. Next up is a big one for me because it's to do with the cameras. Now in stills, this gets a little bit contentious, so you'll probably be aware of this. You've got 48, 50, 200 megapixel cameras in some of these high-end smartphones. but you'll probably not much notice the fact that when you take the picture, it outputs sort of a 12 or a 12.5 megapixel output. Now yes, these are softer, but because of the pixel binning technique, which is to collect lots of data, process it intensely in the phone on the fly, and then you get more dynamic range. And you'll possibly get detail in lots of extra parts of the scene and potentially a more responsive camera at the same time. So there are a lot of benefits for leaving it in this default mode. For reference, even I, as a camera snob, leave my phones in the binned mode in my personal models. However, when I'm testing something, sometimes I'll whack it up to full. And I think that there are certainly situations where you would want to use a full 48, 50, 200 megapixel file if you really want to. But in video, it is generally objectively worse to use the default version of your smartphone's camera output, because almost all smartphones default to an old school full HD 30 or 60 FPS, which is fine, but when most of these smartphones can do even like 4K 120 or 8K 30, you're really doing yourself a disservice paying 4 figures for a phone and then leaving it in the full HD mode, which would have been relevant about 15 years ago. I recommend everyone kind of stick to like a 4K 60 because you're going to get the best of both worlds. You're going to have a nice smooth camera experience. You're probably going to get the best stabilization that your camera is capable of, and it also looks fantastic. Like 4K 60 doesn't sound like a lot compared to 8K or 4K 120, but you really are getting the best of both worlds in my opinion. It's going to be the best rounded video, everything from dynamic range to stabilization to autofocus, maybe even sensor readout, so it's going to feel more responsive as well. For the amount of money we spend on great smartphones these days, flagship models, shipping with full HD 1080p camera specs out of the box, it's an absolute crime if you ask me. There is a more niche one on here, like the fact that Galaxy AI, Google Gemini and Apple Intelligence all kind of require you to go in out of the box and enable it. Maybe log in, download a local AI model if that's applicable. And I've seen some Reddit threads on this from people that don't like it because, you know, a lot of the marketing material, a lot of the reasons people might be buying these phones is because of the AI tech. So it not shipping with it enabled out of the box just feels like a bit of a con. But on the flip side of the coin, as someone who doesn't love AI, I'm glad it's opt-in versus opt-out, and I hope it stays that way. But just something to be aware of if you did want AI in your phone and you notice it's not really there at the moment. So here's a final tick list for those with a brand new smartphone. Get your AI logged in and downloaded if you want to. Go into the camera apps and ensure that you've got at least Ultra HD 4K 30 or 60p enabled for video, and maybe a higher end stills mode if that's something you're wanting to change to. Make sure that the screen settings are set in the right resolution and refresh rates to get the most out of your device as well. Because these things aren't cheap, and why not get the most out of your high-end new smartphone? Guys, if you have any hints or tips that can help out the AP community, maybe specific to a make or model that I just haven't brought up here, do share with the class. Let us all know in the comments because it will really help a lot of us out. I mean, we are spending enough money on these phones, we might as well get the best experience. And did you know any of this stuff covered in the video, or maybe more of an interesting question, did you know and just decided to not change the settings because you did prefer the extra battery life and you were happy to put up with a softer display or worse video quality for storage space? I'd be really interested because I feel like when I spend an amount of money on a smartphone, I want to get the best experience possible. And yeah, I don't know, maybe that's just a me thing. Anyway, whilst you're down there in the comments, be sure to hit like if you enjoyed today's content and subscribe to never miss another upload on this channel. Thank you all so much for watching. I've been Ryan Thomas and I will catch you later. Cheers.